Welcome to our YouTube channel, Moneyline with Nancy TV. This is where you get the latest updates on business, finance, economy, market, as well as investment information. If you couldn't follow us live on television, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, press the notification bell so that you can get notifications. Thank you. Enjoy this video. Let's talk about why the Naira is appreciating. We're looking at the Naira today. Let's quickly bring in our guest. He's Omoyeni, the Sub-Saharan Africa Economist with Vetiva Capital. Hello, Ibukun, and welcome to the program.
Hi, Nancy. Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Okay. Ibukun, why is the Naira appreciating? I think that is just the next question I should ask. Now, as simple as it is, why is the Naira appreciating?
Thank you very much for having me. So the Naira is appreciating because just last week we witnessed the successful issuance of a $2 billion Euro bond. That's one. And simultaneously, we had the electronic foreign exchange system kick off, which is essentially a place where all former trading systems were harmonized. And at this particular platform, you need about $100,000 to trade. Authorized dealers will trade on our platform. Secondly, BDCs have a capped amount that they could trade for the month. Given the fact that a lot of foreign investors were interested in the Nigerian Naira, and just like we said just like I told you in the last interview, anytime the Naira trades closer to 1,000, it's extremely cheap, given that the fair value estimate is somewhere in the low 1,000s. So at 1,716, most of these investors decided to come in. Market whispers say that the supply of dollars was 30 times more than the demand than last week, and therefore we saw rapid appreciation in both the electronic foreign exchange market and as well as the parallel market, and that is what has been driving the rally.
Ibuku, please, I would like you to explain in simple terms, in basic terms, the electronic foreign exchange matching system that was launched on the Bloomberg platform by the central bank. I know you just talked about it now, but explain this to an average Nigerian and why this is perhaps necessary as well as significant, and perhaps why it has impacted on the Naira. What does it mean? You know, you talked, of course, formal traders of FX are able to come together and trade the Naira in excess of $100,000, then perhaps $50,000. But I just want us to not be so esoteric, you know, because sometimes in finance we are so up there, you know, but explain in basic terms.
Okay, so let me try and become more basic. So prior to now, there were a lot of segments by which you can trade FX. You had the foreign exchange market, investors and exporters window. We also had CBN selling interactions to BDCs at certain rates that might not be similar with the rate that closes at the I&E window. But now we are seeing one-stop shop for all FX dealers, including banks and other authorized dealers, IMTUs, that is international money transfer operators. Those are people that are involved in remittance receipts. Also, BDCs would also be participants in this market. And this platform is significant because it is on Bloomberg. Bloomberg is, of course, one key financial technology firm that most markets are run by. So for foreign investors, they like the transparency. They like the fact that it is on the transparency system like Bloomberg. And as a result, we are seeing that interest. So a lot of investors have been interested in the Naira for so long. And that is why you are seeing them patronize this new exchange rate system, because number one, it harmonizes all the former, or it brings together all the former windows into one particular place. As a result, there's price discovery. And the way this particular market runs is that once bids are made, they will not be reviewed, they'll be anonymous. That means they will not be shown until they are matched. So, for instance, now, if you were to trade, for instance, on the stock market, you know that once let's assume you place in a buy order at a limit price, which is a price that is not the market price, you'll be able to see your bid on the maybe on the stock market exchange you're using. But on this bid match system, according to what the CBN has said, we will not see the bids and orders until they are matched, meaning until the trade takes place. So what that means, that actually helps to prevent speculation in one sense. The second sense is that it helps to probably conceal it and ensure that you have huge orders or huge offers and no bids, or huge bids and no offers, to prevent collusion in the market. And essentially, what the CBN has done is to ensure that there's one place where both investors, exporters, banks can actually trade their dollars effectively.
Ibuku, should we dole out the drums for the Naira at this time? Because even though we're saying that the Naira is appreciated to about 1,500, 1,550, we've been here before. Of course, as an analyst, you will know that I'm right. I think sometime early this year, if I'm not mistaken, around April, May, we've been here before that. Even Bloomberg adjudged Nigeria's currency as the best performing currency, I think at about 1.2 or so. So should we dole out the drums right now for a Naira that is appreciating at 1.5?
I think I would say yes, right?
So I should start dancing. Ibuku, so I should start dancing. I should start dancing.
You can actually. You just need to add maybe a tambourine to that dance, make it competitive. So essentially, we've seen more foreign portfolio inflows in Q4. In Q4, we've seen about $2.7 billion, which is more than the $2.4 billion we saw in Q1. And from Q1, we learned a key lesson, right? That we prioritize stability in the exchange rate rather than wild movement. And that's why you're not seeing a significant acquisition in Naira towards the 1-2 levels. What does this mean? What it means is that this gives the Apex Bank stability in the exchange rate. And if we see going to see huge inflows and they remain within the range of maybe 1.3 to 1.5, right, there will be no room for wild swings. But if we see a significant appreciation to 1,002 levels, at that level, of course, a lot of people are going to take profit and we are going to be back to square one. But I think at these levels, Spain is emphasizing stability, right? When it's 2025, our fair value estimate for the Naira is also around 1,500 Naira. That's fair value in terms of, if you look at the fundamental drivers of the economy, right? And there are factors that could actually make it to be cheaper, but we're looking at the rate at which the Naira is trading close to where it should be for next year. And if we continue to see further FPI inflows or further consolidation around these levels, we might actually have to maintain this exchange rate. So we think that, just like the CBN governor said in the last MPC meeting, the focus is not on certain exchange rate targets, but more on stability. Stability of the value of the Naira, there will be no issues.
Yes, I was at IMPC when you mentioned it, that it's not about value, it's about stability. Though Nigerians want to see value at this time, because if you're talking about value, it impacts, our everyday life. Now, that brings me to the question of this Naira appreciation we're seeing, will it be long-lived? Because the last one we saw early this year was not long-lived. So do you think that processes put together, that is the electronic foreign exchange matching system, as well as even the Eurobond issuance, which was oversubscribed, do you think that those are enough reasons for the Naira's appreciation to be long-lived? And even appreciate further?
That's the reason why I said I think the CBN would push for stability in the value rather than wild swings. So if we see the Naira appreciates to 1,000, that would be a significant wild swing that would cause market players to sell off. So I think what we would likely see is stability at 1.5. Like I said before, we've seen more foreign investors in Q4 than in Q1, and yet we've not seen a wild acquisition in Naira. What we are seeing now is more of a bit of external reserves. Once external reserve builds up beyond $40 billion, of course, a lot of portfolio investors will be confident to remain and stay in the system, right? And that's what we are looking out for. So with the Naira remain stable, I think that if we remain at the 1.5 levels, at least for the next couple of quarters, we will see some stability in the exchange rate. And what that will do is to trickle down to our energy prices, right? At the current energy prices of around 1,075 to 1,180 across the nation, is based on an exchange of 1,007. right? If we are stable for about 2 to 3 months at 2005, what we'll see is moderations in the price of PMS, and that will translate into lower inflation figures. So I think that the CBN will prioritize stability in the near term, and even if we remain at the 1.5 levels, it's going to be positive for inflation.
Let's talk about the price set for MTEF the coming year, 2025 to 2027. Okay, let's talk about 2025. At 1,400 for the Naira. So,
Apologies.
yes, Ibuku, can you hear me? The MTEF projection for the Naira is at 1,400. So we're not anywhere near that yet. Ibuku, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay, I was actually asking you earlier that the budget for 2025 is predicated on 1,400 Naira to $1. So if we're talking about appreciation at 1,005, 1,550, we're still far off from there. Bearing in mind that we did not even meet the projection for this year's budget for Naira exchange rate to the dollar.
So the way I like to look at budgets is that budgets, the dollar value was used to estimate one, the oil revenue we'll get. So we know that we get our revenues in dollars, right? What actually should we use to benchmark our budgets, right? So we are using, let's say we are using 1.4, right? So what that means again is on the expense side, if we are going to be servicing debt, our potentially we service that debt 1.4, right? So I think for the budget, it's more of an estimate to use to calculate or compute in Naira terms what the budget items will be, rather than an actual outlook. Would actually make you understand that the CBN is the better agency to provide guidance on currency, right? So since it's the federal government estimate, it is not actually a number used to refer to where the exchange rate will finally drop or where it will finally print, but it's used to calculate what the dollar figures in the budget or the other foreign currency related figures would be in Naira terms. And that's why we are seeing 1,400. What it means is that if by for any chance we see 1,005, 1,006, it means revenue is going to be larger than anticipated. And prior to now, we used to have what they call excess crude accounts, where, for instance, if oil rises above the estimate we have, it goes in there, right? In similar vein, if the exchange rate is weaker than expected, we'll have higher revenues. And I think focus now should be on Nigeria's plans to ensure it pays off its debt and rolls up revenue, such that debt servicing to revenue moderates over time.
Let's talk about this Naira's rally to the versus the cost of living crisis. Because what many Nigerians really want to know is that if the Naira is appreciating, if the Naira is rallying, how does it impact me? How does it impact, my expenses? How does it impact the money in my pocket? Do you think that this would in a way reflect, especially this festive season? That's one. The second question is, it's almost a norm that once it's December, once it's the festive season, we always see Naira weakening. But at least a few days to Christmas now, we're seeing that the Naira is appreciating. Do you think that that will continue perhaps till the end of the year? Thirdly, sorry, Ibuku, that I'm bombarding you with questions, but I need us to be fast about it. Thirdly, the question is around energy prices, which you mentioned earlier. Is there a way perhaps that the Naira is appreciating because of local crude oil refining? We are not taking a look at that. Dangote on one hand, NNPC's Port Harcourt refinery also producing on one hand. That means that there is minimal demand for FX for importation. Is anyone also talking about that? Those of you that are analysts and just focusing on Eurobond issuance as well as the EFEM's, the system that the Central Bank of Nigeria launched.
Okay, thank you very much for that question, right? What we've discovered is that since June last year, Nigeria has recorded trade surpluses or positive net exports. And what it means is that Nigeria has recorded more exports than it imports, but these are not translated into currency gains due to several reasons. Number one, most of our challenges in Nigeria were driven by money supply expansion, right? We've seen rapid expansion in money supply. That's why we are seeing the CBN trying to curb money expansion by raising short-term interest rates. And that's why you are seeing the impact on the exchange rates. So that's why we are not seeing Naira appreciation as a result of trade, simply because the issues we have majorly is driven by money supply. Let me give you an instance, right? Kenya currently runs a current account deficit, while Kenya's shilling, which is its currency, is up by about over 27% year to date, right? How is it that a country with a current account deficit is running a stronger exchange rate? The answer is simple. Kenya does not have money supply problems. Kenya raised $1.4 billion from the Eurobond markets in January, February, around that period. And because it was able to avert a default by June, because about $2 billion was maturing in Eurobonds, that caused investors to, of course, favor the Kenyan shilling. And that's why you are seeing that currency is strong, right? Back to the Nigerian Naira, right? Nigerian, on the other hand, has recorded higher current account surpluses. Our current accounts in a surplus position, but yet our currency is depreciating. Why? It's because we have expanded money supply beyond where it should be in years. And as a result, the Naira has even depreciated below its fair value, right? When it's for the fair value of Naira in 2024, was 1,050 Naira, I think it's 1,500 Naira. What that tells you is that as the Naira trades further from its fair value, while we are offering positive rates of return, foreign investors that are observing that parity would actually get into your currency, pick up your local currency bills, and make an investment to return, to pull out in the medium term. If they see further reforms, it could actually stay. So that's the essence of the reforms we've seen so far. What we see happening with respect to crude oil and refining is that over time, once we can build up our crude oil production, we understand that.
Okay. It seems that Ibuku's network has frozen there. Ibuku, can you hear me? Okay. Okay. It seems that Ibuku, the network has just frozen on us. All right, so Ibuku Omoyeni is the sub-Saharan African economist at Vetiva Capital. Let's see if we can still reconnect with Ibuku. Is he back on now? Okay, he's not back on yet. All right, Ibuku, I hope that when you come back, if we can still have a few minutes, there's a few seconds actually, because we're coming to the end of this interview. But of course, we've been talking about why the Naira has been appreciating, at least in the last few days, and you've listened to the explanations. What Nigerians actually want to know is, will it impact on the cost of living, which I've asked? Will this rally continue? Would we see a Naira that is perhaps at 1,000 Naira or even less than 1,000 Naira? Olayemi Cardoso, who is the central bank governor, has spoken about stability is even more important than a value, so that you can plan with all of that. But I think we'll leave it at that right now. Thank you for watching. In case this is your first time watching us, thank you. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel, drop your comments as well as like, and most of all, share our content.